Sports Shooting Stars. We bring the game to you. Greetings and salutations, sports fans. Coming to you live tonight, it's Todd Edwards, along with my broadcast partner, Dew Jones.
He's on fire!
This is Marcellus Soul Block, and it's time to sit back and kick it with Dew Jones and friends. The Shooting Stars Sports Podcast Show.
We bring the game to you.
Yeah, you know us as being the #1 sports broadcast company in central Pennsylvania. And it's time to sit back and kick it with Dew Jones and friends. The Shooting Stars Sports Podcast Show. Want to become a sponsor of the broadcast? Or maybe you want to be a guest on this podcast? Well, you know what to do. Contact us. You can email sportshootingstars@gmail.com. If you need more content or want to support the Shooting Stars podcast, just go to our social media pages: Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube,
Twitter, and Snapchat. The Shooting Stars Sports Podcast Show with Dew Jones and friends. We bring the game
to you.
Contact us, sportshootingstars@gmail.com.
Isn't it free stuff?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Let's go. This is the basketball recap, Sports Shooting Stars, here with my guy, Carter Scappa, our statistician. Yep. He does a little bit of everything behind the scenes. We're excited to be here to talk about the YIAA season, the basketball season 2024-25 was pretty lit. It was a really good season for a lot of teams. Unprecedented amount of basketball teams that went to Hershey Park, played at the Giants Center. So, I'll let Carter introduce himself real quick.
Yep, I'm Carter Scappa. I do a lot of the stats behind the scenes. So I help this guy out with finding players' names and just doing a lot of other stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, having a lot of fun, man. Carter Scappa is also a sophomore at York College this year. He's studying sports media. He's involved in a lot of things over there as well. So, check out Carter. He's been a big help and asset to the company, Sports Shooting Stars. So big shout out to him. Like I said, let's give a shout out to the whole squad as well. Brandy Shope, Marcellus Gottwald, of course, Todd Edwards, Brian Singer, Ashley Edwards as well. Warren Gooding helped us out this year. Belinda Morales, of course, Chaz Gottwald, Ryan Brown, Jamila Orr. And like I said, I think the list just kind of goes on. We're about nine employees right now as far as group members. So big shout out to all these people that help, make Sports Shooting Stars what they are. And, like I said, it's all about the kids. I say it all the time, man. The kids are really the stars of the show. And I had the opportunity to, showcase them. Absolutely. Yes. Big shout out to Tommy Houck as well. Yep. Doing a great job, like I said, with the Florida Gators. They're on their way.
They're playing tonight against Norfolk State.
Yeah.
They're number one seed in the NCAA tournament. March Madness is getting interesting here. I was on the edge of my seat in so many games last night.
It's going to be so good, man. Like I said, we're excited. That's just, the whole premises of this is we're just going to go through, Division 3 up to Division 2, Division 1, some of the teams, how they fared, some of our predictions maybe for next year. And, we're just going to touch base with just every team in the YIAA from Division 3 to Division 1. So, let's just kick it off, Carter. Division 3, at the top of the class.
We'll start with the girls. Yep. Girls first.
Yep, we'll start with the girls. At the top of the class this year, we're going to look at York Catholic, during the regular season, 14-0 in the league, 22-3. Overall, 12-0 at home, as we said, 8-2 away, averaged 58 points this year, and it was giving up 39 points this year, and they were led by Mirage Shield.
Yeah. And they were the leading scorer in the YIAA. They scored more than anybody. And they had a little bit more height this year with Jaden Brown, Katie Bolin, and their team is, besides Shu and Bolin, they have a very good young roster that's coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Katie Bolin already averaging 12 points this year. She had a great season as well. And Mariah was, I think, at around 18, 19 points per this year. I actually have her at 14 points. I'm sorry.
Well, because now
14 points this year.
She's not shooting a whole lot as much. Like, she's doing a little bit more in the she helped a lot more out in the assist and passing game this year. That's how she was able to. That's how they were. I think was one of the big reasons they were able to elevate and her as a player for this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, she did a great job. And like I said, your Catholic took it all the way to Hershey Park. They got to the Giants Center. They won the 2A state, district championship. So big shout out to them. Like I said, your Catholics, the girls stayed on top, man. And as you said, they got some returning players.
A lot of players, and after this season, they did make it to states. I think they got to the second. They did get to the second round of states.
Yeah,
a lot of these teams did, but it gets different compared to the first one to the second one. The competition level goes up
a huge amount. I always say it's all about bracket play too, man. Sometimes you might get a favorable bracket, and other times you might run into that. To that buzzsaw, you know what I'm saying, of a team. So we all know about that. Actually, we're leading up to that, so second team in Division III, DeLone Catholic.
Oh, Squirettes. They're one of the most historic teams we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Last year they were really good, and they're playing at 4A for being a Catholic, for being DeLone Catholic. Mostly for their level, they're more like 2A for like the amount of kids that they have. But they've been so successful. Coach Eckenrode, over 600 wins that they've had. That's the reason why they've been bumped up so many times.
Yeah, he had over 600 wins. Like I said, in the league, they won 12-2 last year, 18-8 overall, 8-3 at home, and then they were 8-4 on the road. Average 49 points per game, was only giving up 32 points per game, and they were led by
Megan Jacoby and Reese Meckley. They had, and the thing about DeLone may not have had. This isn't the DeLone that we've seen the last few years. A lot of they had to fill in a lot of new pieces. Last year they were very senior heavy, so the record may not have showed as much because they weren't. This year was actually the first time in a while they weren't in Hershey, but they still made it to states. They had a pretty good season, and it's they can keep building on from this.
Absolutely, and your Catholic and DeLone Catholic, they're pretty much the two top teams of Division III. So you're always going to see them at the top, and as well as Bermuda and Springs, who comes in at third place. They had a 10-4 league record, 12-10 overall, 6-5, 6-3, away and at home. Averaged 54 points per game and gave up 41 points per game. And just 2 years ago, I know they were like one of the top teams in Division III.
Oh yeah, and they won the county championship. If you remember,
yes,
in 2020.
Bross, it was a Victoria Bross. Off the top of my head, I can't really remember who's on that squad.
She's a senior this year, and then they have Lucy Peters, who's good, and then they had a freshman who we had as our freshman of the year.
Absolutely.
So they're a good team. Surprisingly, they were not able to make the district playoff, even in that 4A level. I think they were 1 or 2 spots out because they only take eight teams in the girls section. There's not as many teams in there as before because they've been bumping people up and down so many times.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, Bermuda and Springs, DeLone Catholic, your Catholic, they're always at the top of that tier. And after that, you kind of see the wins kind of taper down a little bit. You see, Biglerville, Hanover.
One thing to mention about Biglerville, so we can move on to them right now. So for Biglerville, they won 16 games this year. The first time they made states.
Wow.
The girls team made states in 22 years.
Right. Yeah.
And they made it to districts. They got to the semifinal. They just ran into another buzzsaw by the name of Trinity. So
really good squad out of the Mid-Penn area.
Yeah. So Biglerville had a really good year. They were very senior heavy, very very senior heavy this year. So they're a team maybe that might. I'm not saying they'll take a step. They're going to take a step down, but they might face some adversity early by getting new pieces next season. But they'll be a team to keep an eye on maybe in the future.
Well, as you said, in the league, they won 10-4 last year, 12-10 overall. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Biglerville. I'm sorry, they won 8-6 in the league last year. Won 15-10 overall. So as you said, winning that many games and being competitive. One thing I did notice though, they averaged 44 points and they were giving up 40 points. Yeah. So they had a lot of close games last year. But as you said, I think that actually gives them a lot of character because it's showing that they can win these close games. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when you can grit it out and stuff like that, it just builds the team morale. Moving on, like I said, have Hanover. Hanover came in, they actually, obviously have Raleigh Stigler, one of the best players in the YIAA this year.
She led the league in points and 3-pointers this year.
Yeah, so, Raleigh, like I said, I think Raleigh made our Division III player, Cole player of the year.
A try. We had it as try.
You had a try. It was tough. It was her,
try.
Jacoby, and also Mariah. It was a ton of girls that did a great job out there. So, Yeah, Hanover, like I said, 4-10 in the league, 5-17 overall. They kind of struggled this year, looking to get that, the bounce back next year.
Yeah.
Raleigh had a superb year. She's going to go off to college. So
I think she's playing at McDaniel, I think, for basketball.
Yeah, so, she's going to provide a lot of offense, and she's a really good player too, man. So congratulations to them. And York Tech, now they come in at 3-11, but you see them, they're starting to be more competitive. That's a school who I think a lot of kids are starting to, gravitate to. And now the sports level is starting to go up a little bit as well. 3-11 in the regular season. As far as in the league, 5-16 overall, 2-7 at home, 3-9 on the road. Average 27 points per year, but giving up 43. So, maybe next year they can focus a little bit more on defense.
Yeah.
If your offense ain't there, you just got to lock down on defense.
Yeah, and then we've also got Littlestown. They went 3-11. They're a team that's still rebuilding. They're a very young squad, so we'll see what they can do in the future. As we saw, they went 3-19 this year, but I think their scoring's gonna get up pretty soon.
Yeah, and Littlestown is always one of those teams, even on the boys' side. Like, they can have some off years, and all of a sudden they'll pop up with, some really good basketball players, out of the Adams County area. They always have some really good basketball players that step up and, make a splash in the league. So, that's the team you want to keep an eye on. As well as Fairfield. I know Fairfield has been hitting their struggles, in the sports world, with the YIAA.
Yeah, but it's not their fault. Like, it's just the amount of kids. It's just not having enough kids. Like, similar with their football program. Like, they are now co-oping with, I want to say it's Gettysburg they're co-oping.
Wow. That's a big major move. And also, there's also 2 new teams that's coming to the YIAA, which is Shalom Christian and...
I think you said James Buchanan. Was it
James Buchanan as well. So they'll be a part...
Franklin County.
Yeah, that's out there in the Lebanon area. Like I said, Franklin County, they'll be a part of YIAA.
Not Lebanon. Not
Is
Lebanon.
that Lebanon?
No, that's more Chambersburg. Lebanon, that's in Lancaster.
That's in Lancaster. Okay,
we're
my
talking
fault.
about Franklin County.
So Franklin County is up there near Chambersburg. Okay, you got it. So so they're trying to expand. The YIAA is trying to go a little bit more west with it, from what I was told. So that division will be expanded next year with the added those 2 teams. So
and those are going to be Division III teams. It makes those teams even more. That's where Division III is mostly Adams County. Half those teams are Adams County teams.
Should be great. All right, let's go ahead and move up to Division II. Division II, was led by York Suburban, the girls from the girls team. They came back on fire again. They had a great season last year. Actually graduated, Janae, Rissmiller, and some really good talent last year, and just pretty much rebuilt it. What they had going on.
What a young roster. They had a lot of freshmen and sophomores last year, and most of those players are sophomores this year. And the thing about their team, they don't really lose many players. As you know, they lost Rissmiller, that's 1 senior. This year, they're only losing 3 seniors, which is Powers, Garner, and Pope. Sophia Redmond.
Okay.
Pope's only a sophomore.
And
then they're going to be, and they're coming back next year, and then they've also only got 1 senior next year, which is going to be Natalie Homisak.
Yeah,
they're a very young team.
They're going
to be, from what it looks like, Division II might be in their favor the next handful of years.
That's crazy, man, because they also have a great coach in Jess Weaver.
Oh, yeah.
She knows exactly what she needs to do to get the best out of her players. They buy into her program and, what she teaches. And like we said, they came back, right back and, won the district this year. Back-to-back district champions. So
yeah, if you remember earlier in counties, like they ended up losing to Central, and there was some questions about it. Yeah. I'm not saying by all means Central's a good team, but I mean, like York Suburban, we'd expect them usually to make a deeper run in counties.
Yeah.
But they battled back, and as we said, they faced adversity all year. After losing Powers earlier in the year, they had to have some younger players step up, and
absolutely
that's the way they've done it.
And just speaking about York Suburban, 11-1 in the league, 24-4 overall record, 13-0 at home, 10-2 on the road. Average 49 points per game, only giving up 34 points per game. So they had an average of a 15-point
Their defense is usually that they played a lot of close games, but it always comes down to their defense. That's what always they emphasize the most.
Yeah, as we said, York Suburban back-to-back district champions on the girls' side, and they have a great opportunity to do it again next year. And I will almost venture to say I will almost pick them to be favored to win the county championship next year with all the talent that they're returning.
Oh yeah. So we got next.
Running right into West York. West York, the feisty girls, man.
That's a good team.
Well, West York is the program. When I say feisty, I just mean boys and the girls side when it comes to basketball. Football as well. They had an amazing year in football as well. So West York is on the come up. West York girls coming in, this year 10-2 in the league. 21-8 overall. 15-0 at home. So the home crowd loved it when they played at home. 6-6 on the road, kind of broke even there. Averaged 56 points per game and 43 points. They were giving up.
Well, what's the thing? They were the second leading scoring team in the YAA. And they had a lot of good shooters on their team. Reagan Dahl, who was our sports shooting stars and the YAA coaches selection player of the year. They also have a couple sophomores, Cam Forsythe and Brooke Knowles. That's a good, and they're a team that has a lot of sophomores. They're going to be juniors next year. That West York team, they've been in the District 3 semifinals in 5A the last 2 years. And you want to know who's been the team that bounced them out?
Who's the team?
York Suburban.
And York Spurs are pain in their butt, I guess. Yeah. They got to get over that hump.
Coach. Yeah, and they beat them this year earlier on that buzzer beater. I would say Coach Jason Getz has done a good job with that program after he took over. It's only his third year, and he's taken them to the district semifinal the last few years. They're coming for that district title at some point. If only they can get over that hump, which is York Suburban.
Well, like you said, man, coaching matters, and both teams have excellent coaches. So I know it's a chess match when they go against each other. You know what I'm saying? You got a Weaver on one side, Getz on the other side, and both are excellent coaches. And it's unfortunate that they meet each other sometimes in the biggest stage, when they meet each other. Yeah. But, it's a lot of pride in the YIAA. They represent us the right way. So West York, very tough team. Now trickling down in the third spot, Susquehanna.
They were good this year. They had a really surprisingly they had a season that they were probably the team that hung under the radar a little bit. They actually were able to knock off West York, and I want to say right around the Christmas break.
Wow, yeah.
And Coach Alex Fancher's done a good job with that program. They have two really good scorers, Elena Snyder and Annie Laubach, I think's her name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Susquehanna, like I said, they're right there in the middle of the pack, 8-4 in the league, 16-11 overall. 9-2 at home, 6-9 away, average 38 points, but giving up 37 points. So they had a lot of close games this year. So when you see a team with 16 wins and 11 losses, and there's only a 1-2 point average, you pretty much know the ball could have bounced either way.
Oh yeah,
in that perspective. So Susquehanna has a lot to be proud of this year on the girls' side, and expect to see some noise next year when they start their season.
They had a lot of close games. They made it to districts, and they did make it to the first round of state. So they were in the county playoffs too. So they were in all the big major
big tournaments.
They were kind of a lower seed, but they were the 5 seed in 5A. So they were definitely one of the you could say one of the better teams in District 3.
Mm-hmm. And coming into fourth place, Kennerdale. Kennerdale's a team didn't have the most success they wanted this year, but they were 6-6 in the league.
They were
12-11, so they remained on the positive side as far as on the 500 side. Pretty much went even the whole way out. 4-4 at home, 7-6 away, giving up averaging 44 points and giving up 39. So that's another team with so many wins and losses. It's so close.
Oh yeah. For them this year, they did make it to the district playoffs. They were the 8th seed. And the team they had to play was Eastern York, who we'll mention in a bit. Mm-hmm. But Kennerdale, very junior heavy is what they are. They're going to be a team that's going to. I'm making a prediction right now. I think they're going to be that. They might be that third place team next year.
This is one of Carter's wild predictions.
It's not wild. Come on, it's not wild. It is not wild. It's not a wild pick. If you go and look at Kennerdale's roster, all you're going to read is junior. Yeah. And this team was an 8th seed in 4A this year. They're going to be a team that's just going to get better.
So you look at maybe a team like Kennerdale, in 4th place last year, probably being right underneath York Suburban or West York at 3rd place.
I think they will. They do have a win. Oh, they did. These are all the teams they lost to were the ones in front of them in the district. They do have a win over. They did get a win over Susquehanna, and I think they're going to get better.
Absolutely. So, big shout out to Kennerdale. We got a lot of high hopes for you guys next year. So, got ladies next year, for the Kennerdale side. And then we have Eastern York, a team who's usually at the top, always battling for Division II and, championships and stuff like that. But this year, they were 5-7 in the league. They were 13-12 overall, 8-4 at home, 4-8 on the road. Average 40 points, was giving up 41 points this year. So this is one of those years, and you can't put too much knock to Eastern York because I say, all the schools in the YIAA, they don't recruit for the most part. So, they're just neighborhood kids. They're going to have some down years sometimes. So Eastern York was one of them teams where, after having, all the sites, Ariana and all that success, they had a kind of a rough patch this year.
Yeah, and they were a good team. They made the district playoffs. So they actually beat Kennerdale in the first round on a buzzer beater. So that game was back and forth, and those two teams had split in the regular season early on. And Coach Jason Seitz, he's done a good job with that program. They've always been a team that's been in district contention. They've had some struggle getting to the state level because they ran into the buzzsaws. They've been that 8-9 seed every year, and then they face you. It's like when you win that game, your top prize, the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Whether that's DeLone Catholic or Lancaster Catholic this year, who they got matched up against.
Absolutely, and then losing a player like Ariana Seitz who can score 30 points, 40 points, and just get to the bucket and just a flat out score. I mean, that's a lot, for a team to lose. So going next, Spring Grove come in, the league 2-10. Overall 3-19, at home 2-8, on the road 1-10, 36 points they average per game, and giving up 54 points. So Spring Grove is one of those teams I would just assume was very young.
Yeah, they're up and coming. I think they started, I want to say 3-4 freshmen this year. They had a lot of, besides Casey Boyer, who's committed to Millersville. They had a very young roster. They're a team that'll be on its way up sooner than later.
Yeah, and you got to also remember, like you said, a very young team, and they're playing in Division II, where you have the York Suburbans, the West Yorks, the Susquehannocks, and they're always tough.
Well, you remember they moved down this year, because if you remember this season, they moved down because, remember, Northeastern moved up, and they were playing Division I.
Yep, absolutely. Then we have Dover. Dover came in, at abysmal, 0-12, in the league play, 3-19 overall, 3-8 at home, 0-10 away. Only averaged 27 points, giving up 50 points. So, that's a program overall that has to have more of a focus, on the student athletes and building the program up year round. You just can't sometimes wait until, it's basketball or football season. I think they do a great job with other sports as well. But, the basketball program needs something done year round versus, just coming out for the basketball, when it's time to play basketball. So.
Here we go.
Division I. Like I said, the big girls, not in the bad way. We want to say big boy ball here. You know what I'm saying? Big girl ball. But Dallastown comes in, red hot, 11-1 in the league play, 28-2 overall, 16-0 at home, 10-2 away, 49 points per game, only giving up 34 points per game. When you talk about a team like Dallastown, we can just talk about the whole starting 5 plus the reserves. There's no drop off.
It's gonna be interesting for them coming up next season, because they're losing four seniors on their team besides Ava Jamison. That's gonna be a bit of a rebuild year for Dallastown from what it looks like. But as you know, they won the district championship after having trouble last year and coming up just short. They've won the county championship the last 3 years already in a row. So So I'm not saying it's the end of the end of a good reign for them, but they had a really great season. They had a good run in states. They just ran into a really, really tough Cardinal O'Hara team. So they're going to be one of those teams that I think they're going to be able to reload well. So they're not going to. I'm not saying they're not going to probably be as record 28-2 next year, but they could definitely be a team that's still fighting for district playoffs.
And hats off to Dallastown for the year they had. 28 wins, only 2 losses, 16-0 at home. Won the county championship 3 times in a row. I think that's amazing. Then won the district championship, which Red Straw, their head coach, never actually achieved from a girl perspective being a coach. And, they did a lot of great things this year, man. So big shout out to Dallastown. And they made it to states, of course. Like you said, ran into a buzzsaw, and the team they faced, Cardinal Era. So, big shout out to Dallastown. And also praise Matthews, who was our player of the year. And also the YIAA player of the year.
YIAA and Game Time.
Yeah, so she got the popular vote, she got the coaches vote, she got Sports and Stars vote. She's unanimous. You know what I mean?
Well, she was her staff vote. I think the popular vote was Megan Jacoby as well. Oh, okay. That's how I think they do 2 separate vote. They did 2 separate votings.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the Game Time vote was like. It was an online vote.
It was a staff, and then there was a fan vote. That's
got you.
Yeah.
All right, okay, got you. All right, so we'll go right to Red Line. Red Line, another stellar year, 11-1.
Very young team
in the league, 26-4, 11-1 at home, 13-3 away, 47 points per game, only giving up 34 points. Their only loss was, of course, to Dallastown. Then Dallastown's only loss was the Red Line.
Well, Dallastown had. Oh yeah.
I think they split this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So that's a backyard rivalry that's been going on for years.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
They met 4 times. They met 4 times this year.
It's been crazy, man. But Redline, like I said, Coach Dimoff got his how many wins?
600. Yeah, I think he's at 600. Yeah. Well, he's been there probably for 20 something years already.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Redline has the Sador sisters.
Oh yeah.
They have a nice lineup around them as well. So
a lot of sophomores and juniors they've got on their roster. So they're going to be a team that I'm thinking they might be the team that really takes that Dallastown type role next year for what it looks like.
Well, in my opinion, I think Redline will advance to be one of the top teams in our power rankings next year.
Yeah, when we saw a 3-peat for Dallastown, I could see Redline being that team that 3-peat. We could have back-to-back teams.
It's going to be
3-peat
tough
the next few years.
They got an opportunity, but you can't leave
I know.
heart of a champion Dallastown.
I know. Well, with what they got coming back, that's what I'll say.
Also, Central York comes in 8-4, 17-12 overall. 11-2 at home, 6-8 on the road, scoring 42 points per game, giving up 39 points per game. Knowing Coach Schiller, the coach for Central York girls, I know he wants to get that 39 points down to like 27. He doesn't want a team scoring 40 points on him at all if they're only scoring 42. Schiller's a defensive guy, and I think his team knows that.
Yeah.
So Central York usually at the top of the cusp, but this year, they kind of had their bumps and bruises a little bit.
They've had McCaskill. She's been trying to recover from injury. She's had the injury bug the last few years.
Yes.
So that's the one thing that they've had in trouble. They've had her leadership's been the one thing they've had. So Kylie Rebert's had to step into that role. And the point guard, she's a great shooter.
Yeah.
Very good sharpshooter from 3, but yeah, they got probably a good young roster coming up, and I think Central York will get back. We'll get back around the top.
And they also had Camille McCaskill, which is Olivia's sister. She kind of held down the fort as senior. She's going to continue to play basketball at the next level. So, big shout out to Central.
She's going Albright, I think.
Yep, absolutely. And right after that, we have Southwestern, who was at the top of our list pretty much.
They were early. They were good. They were on a good start early. And then after that, I want to say after the break, that's when it all kind of went down a little bit.
Well, they were only 4-8 in the league, 11-11 overall, 7-3 at home, 4-8 on the road, 47 points they averaged this year, and they gave up 40 points this year. And they have Carly Louie, who was our player of the year last year in Division II. Division I last year, but this year they couldn't have a lot. Things didn't gel as well as it did the year before.
Yeah, and they'll be a team that's going to get back up there. They did end up making it to districts in that last spot. They ultimately got seeded against Red Lion.
Oh, it's tough.
But they're going to be a team that'll get back up there. I'm not saying. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and Southwest is a huge school. They're a 6A school. They got 2,000 kids there. They got a lot to pull from. So expect them to always get some players to play and do well. York High comes in at 5th in Division I at 4-8, almost exactly like Southwestern. 11-11. Overall, 7-4 at home, 4-6 on the road, averaging 41 points per game and giving up 37 points per game.
Yeah, they got things going at the end of the year. They're a very young team, as we know. They graduated a lot of seniors last year, and this year I think they only had one senior, which was Jada Price.
Yep.
They had a lot of sophomores, freshmen, and they were right there in the district. They were right behind Southwestern. I want to say they were 1-2 spots behind them. Right in the district race. And
they also have, like I said, they have a good solid team, and also a freshman by the name of Kamora Hawkins. She had a great season this year. She made our top 20 towards the end of the season. They have a lot to build on. She's a scrappy player. She can score, play defense, and they have she'll be a 4-year starter there. Oh, yeah. And they'll build around her as much as they can. Coming in after that is Northeastern, 3-9, 4-15 overall. 3-7 at home, 1-8 away, giving up 38 points and averaging 38 points and giving up 45. Northeastern had, that was a team.
This was the team I was a little surprised.
Very surprised.
How the way their season went.
They have Lorelai Kennedy, they have Nyla Davis. They have a lot of that core. I'm not going to say that. Well, 2 girls I think transferred. One went to New Jersey. I was told before the season started. I don't know exactly, and I know Michaela Coleman graduated the year before.
They had 2 players graduate, but they returned. I thought 3 of their They did return 3 of their starters. So I don't know.
Yeah, Northeastern kind of got off to a rocky start, and I feel like they never caught their footing throughout the year. They still have a lot of talent on their team.
And plus, maybe moving up to that Division One, maybe it's just the talent level was a little bit. I'm not saying the talent level maybe kicked up a little bit of a notch. So that's what. They were surprised about that, maybe.
And then finally, we have New Oxford. During the league, they were 1-11. overall 5-16, 3-8 on the 3-8 at home, 1-8 on the road, giving up 45 points, but only scoring 39 points per game. So they were in the negative pretty much the whole season. So New Oxford's another big school. They'll rebound, they'll get some players back, and like I said, big shout out to New Oxford and what they got going on next. So.
Looking into the boys' side, is that? That's football. That's not it.
But like I said again, let's talk about the girls that all made it to the district championship. The county playoffs, we have Dallastown, winning the county playoffs 3 times in a row. Yeah. And then at the district level.
Oh, you had York Suburban, you had York Catholic made it. You had Red Lion and Dallastown. If you had to bet on a team making it there, you could have said, I'm gonna put 500 on a YAA team making it to the girls 6A district championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And the girls did great this year. Like I said, we filmed 29 games, and I think we had about 9 girl games this year around that range. But at the Hershey level, York Catholic, Dallastown Red Line, maybe
Suburban Middletown,
Middletown, and stuff like that. It was a pleasure, filming them games. And I know you guys are wondering, like, hey, where's the film? Where's the footage? We have it now. It should be. I know we said it was going to be up last week, but it'll be up this week. We'll have all the games recovered. Yep. So like I said, you get a chance to relive those games as well on our YouTube channel. And let's just go right over to the boys, because this is only 1 hour, guys. We're just going to jump in real quickly. Let's go over to the boys side. The girls did great. Like I said, now we're going on to the boys side, and we'll start with Division 3. Right at the top of Division 3, you have DeLone Catholic. Coming to the league play. They were 13-1, 20-4 overall, 12-2 at home, 8-1 away. Average of 65 points this year and only gave up 50 points.
Yeah, for them it was interesting. They had a great they faced a lot of solid teams. They beat New Oxford during the year. They beat they beat Southwestern. They didn't play like a lot from what it looked like. Their schedule early wasn't necessarily the strongest, and then right when you got to the end of the year, they started winning some of those better teams. It's a shame that they got matched up against York Catholic in the first round of districts. It was one of those win or go home in the 2A because there's
like 8 teams, I believe.
There's like 6 teams that are in that level, and they only take 4. You have to win to go to state. If you make it to district championship, you go to states, but. Yeah, it gets
a little tricky. It gets a little tricky. Yeah, absolutely. And they were led by, I think, Braden Smith.
Yeah, Braden Smith, Luke Rabbert. He'll be one of our guys on probably our top 10.
6'6" guy, I believe.
6'6". He's good. He's only a junior, so he'll be back for his senior year.
Yep.
And then you had a couple other players. They had Liam O'Brien, who's good. Yep. He's a good solid piece, and they have a good young roster. They had 2 freshmen that played a good role in William Smith and Colin Redding. So DeLone Catholic will be a team that maybe we'll end up featuring next year, but they'll be a team that will probably be back at that county level. Them and we'll enter the next team next.
Well, we're going right into it. York Catholic coming in with the same exact league record at 13-1, 19-6 overall, 11-4 at home, 8-2 on the road, averaging 61 points per game, giving up only 44 points per game. They were led by, of course, Jake Dallas, who was our Division III player of the year, and also they have a nice core piece with Evan Isaac.
Yeah, a lot of juniors. They got Bischoff,
Evan Bischoff, goes to Evan Eisenhart. I'm gonna say Evan Bischoff. They have Sam McKim,
Sean Devitt, and then the 2 bigs they got the freshman Tate Keffer, who was our Division III freshman of the year, and then they have Michael Glazer, who's a junior. He's 6'6", he's 6'5". Keffer's 6'4", so they got some height underneath there.
Your cap is going to be very strong next year. I'm very excited to see what your cap is going to do. I see them dominating the league at the Division III level. They already did it this year, only having 1 loss.
Yeah, in league play. And that was to DeLone, but that was a game where they shot 17 for 60 from 3. It was
And also your Catholic, big shout out to them. They also made it to the district championship, and they won the district championship.
It was the payback game. They got revenge on Linville Hill, who's actually playing in the state semifinal right now.
Absolutely, and we talk about that bracket play. You get in certain brackets.
But they're playing the team. If your Catholic would have won, those 2 teams maybe would have faced off again with the winner going to Hershey.
That'd have been crazy. Going right into it, Bermuda Springs at number 3, and the boys Division 3 coming at 10-4. Overall 12-9, 5-4 at home, 6-5 away, giving up 52 points. scoring 52 points and giving up 50 points per game.
Yeah, they play in that 4A level. It's a little tough because you got all the teams, because you know all the teams in there, like the Berks Catholic, the Eastern, and even the back end teams like the Bishop McDevitt's.
Mm-hmm.
So Meridian Springs had a very good team. Dylan Hubbard was their top guy.
Yep.
And he had a really good season. He was a first-team All-County selection. And then they also have his younger brother, Lane Hubbard. As you remember, that Bermudian, a lot of those guys from that Bermudian Springs football team that won the district championship in 3A, those guys are also basketball players.
Yeah.
And that's what I think of Bermudian. They're one of those teams, they have a lot of just really good athletes. They might not have guys that are like really good at one sport. They got guys that
all around great.
Can do all around.
Yep, absolutely. A big shout out to Bermudian Springs, as we may feature them next year a little bit. You know,
I saw in football they're going to Suburban week 2.
Okay,
maybe there's a chance in that one.
That's an opportunity. You may have to get into that. And then York County Tech. I thought York County Tech did a great job this year. That's not their record.
No, I got the record. Here.
Okay,
they went 12. They went 10-12 in the season.
Okay, so they have 10-12 in the season here for York County Tech.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we got it. Okay.
Yeah, 10-12. In the league, they were 7-7. They went 10-12 overall, which I think is super positive for York County Tech. 5-7 at home, 4-5 away, giving up 54 points, but only scoring 53 points. So they need to get into that plus.
You know how York Tech likes to. They like to shoot a lot of threes sometimes, so that's how they get most of their points. But their team, they got what's his name? Rodney Hicks, the sophomore. Remember he scored. How many points did he score?
40 points. Yeah,
40 points against Kennerdale in an overtime.
And I think he made our top 20 list, or he's on our.
He's on our players to watch. He might be on our. He could be. There's a chance he could be on our 20 list.
Oh, absolutely.
Coming into next year.
Absolutely. Hanover comes in at 5-9, 6-15 overall, 3-5 at home, 3-9 away. 47 points, per game they're averaging, but also giving up 56 points per game. So Hanover, the one sweet spot they have is
Ethan Herndon. He was the YAA coaches selection player of the year, and
23 points per game.
Yeah, he led the league in points per. He led the league like all around in points per game. And I don't know where we'll see where college ended up giving him the opportunity. I know he's got Messiah and Lebanon Valley as offers so far. We'll see if anybody else.
Yeah, and he got the size. If I'm not mistaken, he's 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
Loves to play basketball, man. Like I said, a true hooper. You know what I'm saying? Also, big shout out to Ethan. He has his own landscaping company out of the Adams County. I see him posting his stuff all the time. Always want to support businesses and also, support these guys who start very young with, running their own business. So check out his landscaping business. It's online, Ethan Herndon, on Facebook. So let's go ahead and check him out. Absolutely. Going down to Littlestown, 5-9, 6-16 overall, 4-7 at home, 2-8 away, 46 points they're giving up this year. Averaging this year and giving up 56 points. So, that's another situation where, they lost, Meekin.
Yeah, it's hard to replace it. It's hard to replace a 6'8", 6'9" guy. It's tough to replace that. So
and also Ryan Hurd.
Well, they graduated. I think all five starting players last year.
Yeah.
They had a new coach come in. Very young roster with.
They lost a lot
with not a whole lot of varsity experience, which they did win 6 games out of. They had a couple good players. Peyton Bossom he's a player that's going to be on the rise. That he'll be a guy for fans that'll need to keep an eye on for next year. And then they also have a sophomore named Zach Murray who's good. So they're going to be a team that maybe will start to build back up as the years go, as the next 2 years maybe or so.
Absolutely, we'll keep an eye on Littlestown. Biglerville comes in at 3-11 in the league. 3-16 overall, 2-6 at home, 1-10 away. They average 43 points per game, but they give up 61 points per game. So, Biglerville is another team that, very small school. You don't really expect a whole lot out of Biglerville, but, you expect them to have some talent out there.
Yeah.
So, this may have been one of their down years, but, they're still
the only thing about them is their winter sport, their big winter sport's mostly wrestling. So that's their big thing. And plus, the last time they were in the district playoff, that was when DeLone's head coach Brandon Staub was over there, and then when the year after they made it to districts, that's when he left to DeLone. So Biglerville, they're going to be a team that will need to keep building. They had a lot of seniors this year, so they're going to have to definitely reload a little bit.
Yeah, and Fairfield, even on the boys' side, Fairfield comes in, struggling, at 0-14 in the league. 4-18 overall, so they do have 4 wins that year, 2-9 at home, 2-9 away. Averaging 39 points per game, but giving up 60 points per game. Very small school.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're doing some interleague with another school. So we want to see Fairfield get back into being competitive
because they play in that that 2A bracket in basketball, and hopefully I think they'll be able to take that big step. I think they'll be able to take that next step in there.
Yeah, and people are following what they got going on as well. They want to see them do the best they can do it, and they may even go into it like an independent league one year. I don't. You never know what happens, but Fairfield, like I said, we want to keep that program alive and well. So big shout out to them as well. But on the Division III side, like I said, darlings of that division is always going to be your Catholic and DeLone. At least the last couple years, and
we know Littlestown was probably running that the last handful of years, now it's probably going to be DeLone York Catholic for the next 2 years probably.
Now to that Division III, we kind of expect maybe York Catholic to kind of rise to the top and be maybe the number one team.
Yeah,
in that division next year, especially with the core they got coming back. Even though they're losing,
I think it mix of both. It's going to be tough. It's tough to replace a guy like Jake Dallas, a 4-year starter for them,
and 1,000 points scores, state recognition. He's he's all county. He's our player of the year in Division III. So big shout out to Jake Dallas. His family is very nice as well. Shout out to Chick-fil-A. Like I said, East York. They was our sponsor for a couple years. Like I said, hopefully continue that relationship. But overall, man, York Catholic did a great job getting to the district championship and winning.
Yep, he's going to Hood next year. Now I get to cheer for York when they go up against him.
Well, he'll be over there with Karan Mallory, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Over at Jake, over at Hood. So that'll be a nice little combo. Yeah,
Karan's getting some good. We're not trying to backtrack people off topic here, but he had a pretty good year. Hood made a good run in the MAC playoffs. They just ran to the buzzsaw known as York College.
Yeah, there he goes. York College guy.
Hey, York College almost beat the number one seed NYU.
Oh wow!
They almost beat them.
Got there close. Well, York College got Kyle Capella, man, and he's just
he's graduated.
Man on a mission.
Sapala's good. He's an all. He just got named All-American. So.
Wow.
And it's only the 5th in their program history.
Yeah, he's a machine.
And their last one I'll mention is a former Central York guy, Jared Wagner.
Is Jared coaching over there
He's
now,
the assistant coach.
Yeah, he's the assistant coach. Okay, cool. All right, Division II. Let's go ahead and go for the boys. Starting right there at the top, Eastern York.
Well, it's a try. We have a try list, but we'll start with the
we'll start with the
name that's listed as the.
It's actually 3 teams at the top. But we'll start with the name. Eastern York 10-2. West York 10-2, York Suburban 10-2. So like I said, Division II and the boys side for the YWA was super competitive.
Because you know how it was. We had co-champions in Division III. We got tri-champions and we got outright champions. So
yep. It was very.
When's this going to happen again?
It was very competitive, very competitive. And Eastern York 10-2. 22-6 overall, 11-2 at home, 10-3 away. Averaging 57 points per game, giving up 46 points per game. Eastern York was one of those teams where, Carter Walmsley pretty much had to carry, as he normally does. And like I said, Brady Seitz was there as well. Coach Seitz came back, as a, I don't want to say first-year coach, but as
he came back. Yeah, he returned.
He returned as a coach this year, got his team, competitive. They made it to the county playoffs. They also made it to the district championship where they came up a little bit short.
Yeah.
But Eastern York was a tough team. Very gritty.
We saw them three times this year. We had them. Might have been.
I think Nicholas Cunningham hit some big time shots for him this year.
Cunningham was a great 3-point shooter for them.
Yep. Absolutely. So, they did a great job this year. Yeah. Like I said, it was a 3-way tie, we said, in Division I.
It's going to be tough. Like I will comment and say next year it's going to be a bit of a big rebuild for them. They graduate 12 out of their 15 players. 3 players they have returning, but
I think Avant Sweeney returns as well. I'm not sure if he basketball.
He graduates.
He graduates. Okay, all right.
They're gonna be in a big rebuild. For them.
Okay, yep. So Seitz got his work cut out for him next year. Absolutely. So West York comes in at 10-2 as well. 22-7 overall. 11-5 home. 11-2 away. Averaging 55 points per game, only giving up 43 points per game. Coached by Garrett Bull. They're the 3-time Division II champs, if I'm not, 4 times.
It's been. I don't know how many years it's been.
4.
It might be 4. It's 4.
It's his 4th year. Coach Bull, doesn't matter what team he has, he's competitive as heck. They buy into the program.
Maybe it's his 4th coach of the year. Maybe you're thinking like that, or maybe,
no. They got 4.
Oh, they have 4.
They have 4 Division II championships. Absolutely, yeah. So.
Their team's good. They've got a lot of good. They had a lot of good pieces this year, but they didn't go. They didn't seem like they went. They weren't like a very deep team. How many did they go? About like 7 deep, probably.
From what I saw, about 7 deep. Like I said, very team oriented. They have the Hoffman twins.
Yep.
They have Jaden Collier. They have Christopher
Valetti. Where did they find that?
Yeah, this kid
6'3". He's 6'3".
Popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, he was hitting. From what I'm reading, I read he had like 10 threes or something. When they were playing York Suburban in one of the games, and they won big in that game. And I was thinking, it said Christopher Valetti hit 10 threes or something. I'm like, wow.
And they had the freshman Jensen Ferber.
Yeah.
And they also have Brecken
Lasher, 6'5".
I mean, they had the team that's built to win. I mean, they really do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, they made it the furthest out of anybody in the year. And we're not trying to talk one of the teams down, but they gave Central a little bit. They gave Central a good run for their money.
That Central game, like I said, for the counties, I mean, everybody was at the edge of their seat, and they had an opportunity to win the game with no time on the clock. You know what I'm saying? So there was one of them situations where Central pulled one out, but West York was. I mean, and I talked to Coach Boyle after the game when he called a timeout with like 3 seconds left or something like that. And he told me, I said, Coach Boyle, you was setting up a play to win the game.
Win the game.
3.
He wasn't looking to tie.
Yeah, he said, no, I'm not tying. I said, so they inched one out right there. But West York played amazing that game. They played their style of basketball. That's basically what you gotta say. They played their style of basketball to a T.
They look for a great shot, and it's unfortunate they've gotten stuck with Hershey the last two games in the district semifinal and the state play.
Well, even the Hershey game. Yeah. They were in the game.
They were
all
winning
until the last 3 minutes of the game where it kind of just exploded. Yeah, it was kind of lost.
Yeah, then I think it was after the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter. That's when it started. Hershey got a lot of the big difference was Hershey got the second chance opportunities, and that was the difference in that game.
Yeah, and again, you got Cam Sweeney on the other side, who's having an amazing year this year. He had an amazing year last year. He just piggyback on another great season, and they're in the Final Four, and they play. Today at 5:45.
Today or tomorrow?
I thought it was Friday. I missed some of the game, man. So like I said, I'm rooting for Hershey.
I thought both states are Saturday, but I could be wrong.
I'm rooting for Hershey like I said, with Cam and those guys. But going down to York Suburban, comes in at 10-2. 20-9 overall, 12-5 at home, 8-3 on the road. Scoring 60 points per game, only giving up 47 points per game. The thing about York Suburban this year, they lose Nas Barnes, Nasir Barnes, and
how they bring in Silas Leonard. Silas Leonard.
Silas Leonard comes back. He's your all-around utility guy. You lose about 20 points when you think about a guy like Nasir Barnes. But
you think their defense might have been their big step up this year.
But then you got the Strine brothers. You know what I'm saying? You have Kai, you have Kane, and they did a great job this year. Kai hit his 1,000 points.
I think he's the all-time 3-point leader. He passed his coach, Mitch Kemp.
Sweet, man. That's a great deal. And York Suburban, they did a great job this year. They actually have the same record this year that they had last year. So they didn't really drop. In the regular season, they were 17-5.
It's been close for them. The last 2 years, they've been trying to get to Hershey twice, and they've come up just short of both. But they were a team. They almost won that game in states against that really tough against Upper Moreland. So Kai Strand hit one from the top, hit a 3-pointer at the top of the key to send it to overtime, and then Upper Moreland pulls it out. But that Suburban team really good. That Suburban team really good, and they're going to be. I'm not going to say they're going to be better, but they're going to get a lot of pieces.
Yeah, Salas returns. I think Weinstein returns.
They got Kane coming back. They got Jake Blunt. He was big off the bench for them.
Yeah, good utility guy as well. Like I said, brings a lot of offense, toughness to the team. So York Suburban, keep an eye out for them next year. Yeah. New Oxford comes in at 6-6 in the league, 12-12 overall, 6-5 at home, 6-7 on the road. 52 points they give up 52 points they average this year, and they give up 50 points. And you look at their average, everything is just dead even almost. Like everything's 500, 6-6, 12-12, blah, 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 blah. But they have Brody Holmes. Yep. Brody Holmes, brother of Brennan Holmes, who graduated last year. Brody, exploded this year. I think he averaged about 18, 19 points per year.
I think he had 20. I think he was in the 20, right near the 20s. It might have been right till you got to the end of the year, like with when you're playing the Easterns, the West Yorks, and the Suburbans. But when you got to that level, like when he played some of the other teams, he was scoring probably like 20 points a game. He was there. I'm not saying he kind of carried a lot of the load when it came to the scoring.
Right. And yeah, Billman on that team as well, Braden Billman. But yeah, Brody was he's the main sharpshooter on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I expect him to be a 1,000-point scorer before it's all said and done.
Oh, he'll get it. He'll get it next year, definitely.
With New Oxford, so they got to bounce back and get some key pieces back, and they will.
And they're a very junior heavy team.
And they have Tanner over there too, which is Tommy's brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they have Tanner over there as well. He's getting taller. He's getting more physical.
Yeah.
And they'll have a squad next year.
Yeah, they could be that. Maybe there's a chance, like with Eastern rebuilding, maybe there's a chance New Oxford could get into that. That is going to be. We're going prediction time again here. That's one of my predictions.
What, New Oxford?
New Oxford's going to get that third spot next year. I think
They'll
be that third county team. Maybe
Susquehanna comes in at 4-8 during the league, 7-15 overall, 2-7 at home, 5-7 away.
Mm-hmm.
Gives up 58 points per game, only scores 46 points per game, led by Joe Fuller.
Yeah, they had a lot of they were in a little bit of a rebuild. They had a new coach, Wayne McCullough's their came back as their coach for I think they put him as like an interim tag a little bit. They're still looking for a new coach.
Yeah.
After Coach Seth Leonard went back to Dallastown. And then Silas Leonard, is back at Suburban. So Joe Fuller had a great year. I think he averaged about 20 points a game, and then they had another guy, Brooks McKnight, who's a good 3-point shooter. Yeah. So they're a team that they'll get better as it goes along. They're a very good athletic team.
Yeah, and shout out to Joe, man. He had an amazing year just athletically, man. Even in football, he was balling out this year as being a quarterback and went right in.
I think he's a wide receiver. Yeah,
he's a wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver. They had a different.
I thought he played a little bit of quarterback as well. But
he might have a bit when their main QB got hurt. So maybe he did step in a little bit.
Yeah, but he just had an amazing year overall, man. As a senior, for Susquehanna, so he's that bright spot on that team. As you said, Brooks as well. And right down below them is Kennerdale coming at 2-10 during the league, 5-17 overall, 2-9 at home, 2-8 on the road. Only giving up 58 points per game, and only scoring 48 points per game.
Yeah.
So Kennerdale, is still rebuilding.
Yeah, it's a team, as you know, Kennerdale is a team that doesn't always score. They don't always score a lot of points. They're usually, I think Division II, about that one, people might not know, or they might, but it's mostly, I think, a defensive first team. Kind of like Division III also. The teams, they don't give up a whole lot of points. They look for a lot of threes. So Kennerdale will be like that, and they're going to be a team. They'll keep building up. They have a couple of good pieces coming back. The two big ones that they lose Dylan Logu, who was a just good all around athlete, and then Ryan Perzanowski, who's actually committed to Division I baseball at West Carolina.
That's good.
So
yeah, and then like I said, at the bottom of the list we have Dover. Comes in at 0-12, 0-22 overall, 0-9 home, 0-12 away. Only averaging 34 points, giving up 69 points. And, it's not so much we can say about the Dover program at this point in time. We talked about the girls' side as well. That is something they had to put more emphasis on the basketball side and making that more like a year-round thing and really recruiting and getting the right people involved to actually build that program.
Because they're probably the biggest. Like, they probably have more students than anybody at their school. Like, besides maybe New Oxford's close, but I don't think they have as many as Dover does when it comes to like student numbers.
We'd love to see Dover get back up there, and being competitive in basketball. They were like that back in like 2016, 17.
Yeah, with like during the Keith Davis.
Keith Davis, I think Eli Sutton was there. Yeah. Of course, even before that, a kid by the name of Ryan Beck. They had like a real good nucleus at that point in time. Victor Dorm, of course. You know what I'm saying? Just other players like that, but they got to get back to it, man. Let's go to Division I. Like I said, we're finishing up our hours, so let's go to Division I real quick.
Yep.
And right off the top, like I said, Central York comes in 12-0 during the league, 27-2 overall. Actually 28-2 overall. 11 home wins, 13-2 away, averaging 79 points per game, giving up 59 points per game. 3-time county champion this year. Happened to win the district championship as well. They did win
the first basketball district championship in school history.
Yep, first district championship in school history. Got to the Sweet 16 of the state playoffs and ran into the buzzsaws. We said again, Roman
Catholic, who's playing in the Final Four against, I think it's Upper St. Clair. I think they're Upper St. Clair.
They're playing against Upper St. Clair, which I think is kind of like, it's like I said, matchups are kind of funny, right? Because
you saw they had some trouble. Roman Catholic had some trouble with Coatesville.
Yes.
And you saw Coatesville and Central had a a good back and forth
Yeah.
game earlier in the year.
It's kind of weird, like, because Central beat Coatesville, beat Imhotep, but lost to Upper St. Clair, and then lost to Roman Catholic. These are all teams that's in the Final Four.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So like but it bounces like that. Like I said, Central had a really good year, but they have to finish better. That I know the big talk of the town. You can't get around it. Is that 48-50 point loss they had against Roman Catholic.
Yeah, that's what.
And it just, looked like very unprepared.
Yeah.
As far as mentally checking out sometimes here and there, and they can't have games like that because as much as other teams from the county, get on your Central York and want them to lose and stuff like that. When you get to that level, you're actually representing the county, and you want to represent it the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, they played great basketball throughout the whole year. It's just that that Roman Catholic team came out inspired, motivated, and they were on a different level. And I was at that game, I was at that game. And I believe they shot 89% from the 3-point line.
They shot at a ridiculously high rate.
The commentator that was doing the game said, "I haven't seen a team shoot this well in years." Yeah. So it was everything rolling. Like I said, your Catholic is a. I'm saying your Catholic. I mean Roman Catholic is a built to win team now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys don't win, man. They're freaking. Their jobs are at risk. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a built to win team. So a big shout out to them, but. Central York did a great job, but they and again they're losing the two Bens.
Yeah, and then
Byron,
the big three from
Saxon's going. JoJo Waters also leaving. Yeah. So it's 5 players that's gonna
pretty much a guard heavy, more of a smaller team next year. A lot of guards they'll have for next year.
And the only thing I believe that's going to be in Central York's favor, not the only thing, but one of the things I think is going to be in the Central York's favor next year is that at least in the county and districts, that looks like it's going to be more of a guard heavy situation in the county and also in the district. So
I don't even know who the tallest. Well, I guess the York High guys might be the tallest guys in the Division One.
And we'll talk about some other big players that's coming out. Yeah. And let's get right into Redline. Redline comes at number 2 in Division 1, 9-3 overall in the league, 19-6 overall. Home game. I'm sorry, won 8-4 at home, 10-2 away. Averaged 63 points per game. Gave up only 54 points per game. Coach Schmel. I'm sorry, Coach Schmel. He got I believe Division 1 player. I'm sorry, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year in the coaches one. I think we ours we had Hoke, but Schmel got it in the coaches selection one.
Yeah, and I think he was ours last year though. If I'm
he
not
was
mistaken.
Ours last year because this year he had a. We were expecting a bit of a rebuild from Redline, but I would say. I think what Brian Singer told us once, he said this team looked more like a more consistent shooting team compared to that last year team. That last year team was more defensive heavy. Mm-hmm. This one was more offensive heavy Red Lions squad.
And the thing about Redline, like you said, you lose a guy like Sedora, they lose a guy like Chris Williams. I know I'm missing another guy as well.
Dennis, yep.
Yeah, Dakari Dennis. And, just like you said, they rebuild. Mm-hmm. Coach Brian Singer, one of our Sports Shooting Stars guys, he's the assistant coach over there. He had high hopes for his guys coming into the season, and they actually excelled. Their only losses, if I'm not mistaken, are to York High in the league. Is York High and
Central? Yeah, those are the only losses in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big shout out to Redline, and they bring a lot of good pieces back. They have Isaac Ogrechek, of course.
Ogrechek, there
first
might be
team.
There might be a chance. Like I'm going to say it right now, there might be a chance he could be number 1 on our list. Like,
absolutely,
he's got a legit chance. He's probably one of the best shooters. Like he's probably one of the best shooters we've seen in quite some time. He
absolutely
shoots at a really high rate.
Like I said, they got Ogrechek coming back, Isaiah. They have Cade Shepard as well.
And they have a couple juniors they're going to have. Owen Flay had a big. Yep. He was a guy that really came out of nowhere. He actually got going a little bit late. And then the only thing about it is they don't have a lot of height. Their tallest players are probably like 6'2".
And their big guy,
their tallest guy, Chase Rush.
Chase Rush is actually transferred, and he's going to another school. What school he's going to again? On top of my head. I can't think of it, but he's actually transferring. He's a 6'5", 6'4", 215-pound guy. You know what I'm saying? So wherever he goes, he's just going to develop and become back a monster. Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
So let's check the next team out.
York High comes in at 8-4 during the league, 19-11 overall, 9-4 at home, 9-7 away, scoring 63 points per game. giving up 62 points per game, so that's only 1 point difference there.
Yeah.
But your Kai did a great job this year.
A big bounce back. So you saw they started off a little rocky early on. I think they were like 5-5, something like that, and then they brought some guy by the name of Nasir Barnes, who is one of the best players in Division II last year, and they only lost, I want to say, one regular season game, and that was to Central. In the regular season, and they had a good run. They made it to the county. They made it to the county championship. Came up just short, but and then districts is where it got a little something did seemed a little off with them a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, during the regular season, as you said, your Kai kind of got off to a later start. They had like kind of a coaching fiasco kind of went in the beginning as far as figuring out who the coach is going to be. So they didn't have guys in the gym 100%. But once the coach was decided, the guys were locked in. I saw, guys going to practice. They were ready to play. They always want to put on that orange and blue colors and, represent it the right way. And, so this year, like you said, they kind of got out to a little bit of a shaky start. But then, with the emergence of Nasir Barnes being there and what he brings to the table, I think they ran off won 15 out of 16 games.
Something like that, yeah.
And the only losses they had this year, like I said, won the red line during the regular season.
They had a couple losses in the regulars. They had a couple losses early on before Nas was there, and then right when he came in, when Barnes was in the lineup, they only lost one game. Right.
That's the difference. And I believe that was against Central York during the regular season.
Yeah, it was Central.
So, like I said, your Kai has, in my opinion, has a plethora of good talent, man. Rashard Miller,
Brendan
DeShields. You got Josiah Romero. You got some guys on the bench. You got Ty Maxfield. I know I'm missing a guy here and there. You know what I'm saying? They have a young guy by I can't think of his last name.
They're going to be. They have to. The only one is they'll have to replace David Ward, which will be that'll be a little bit of a tough.
And he's an energy man. He's a hustle guy. Like I say, he'll run through a wall literally if he needs to for his team, man. So they'll be missing a lot of grit with him. But your Kai, I believe, is going to have probably they'll be right up there, man. They're going to return a lot of talent next year, and they'll be ready. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they have a full year to do some stuff during the summer, and they'll gel a little bit. That chemistry will get there. They got Nas, like I said, leading them, so I know they'll be excited and ready to go. Dallastown comes in at 6-6, 12-10 overall, 6-5 on the road. 6-5 at home, 5-3 on the road. Scored 60 points this year, gave up 60 points this year, and they were a team kind of in the middle. They're always tough. A team like Dallastown is always tough.
Yeah.
Like I said, they come in, Chase McLean, I think he put up 67 threes this year, which led the league.
He might have been first in the league in threes.
Yeah, I mean, he could just fire that thing, man. He's been doing it for the last couple of years at the varsity level. They also have Jalen Cook, who's a two-way player, plays football, also plays basketball. Actually got voted first team.
He was first team.
Which
he's a really athletic. He's really athletic. So there's nothing saying like there's nothing wrong with that. He's probably he's essentially Dallastown's big man, essentially for their team. He plays in sort of that 4-5 role under the basket, guarding their usually the team's biggest guys. So he had a great year, and also this year I think it was a little different because they didn't have Michael Scott this year because he left early for football.
And also they have Chase Myers. Chase Myers on that team. Like I said, and a good nucleus. They got a lot of good players over there. And coach and especially their coach Grassel, they listen to him, you know what I'm saying? They know what's going on. He always produces some really good players. He lets them play loose. It's always tough to play at Dallastown. Everybody knows that. I mean, that's one of the schools with their student body and and everybody they got involved. It's very tough to play there. So, Dallastown's always a team that's going to be dangerous, in my opinion. Spring Grove comes in at 4-8. 4-8 during the league.
This was
11-16 overall, 4-5 at home, 6-10 on the road. Scoring 52 points per game, giving up 52 points per game. And they were led by
Cooper Smith.
Cooper Smith and also Caleb Allen.
Yep, Caleb Allen. And those two are coming. Those two are only juniors. They're coming back next year. And this is an interesting fact here. So you're Spring Grove. You're the 16 seed in 5A. You did a lot of scoreboard watching at the end of the year.
Right.
You're matched up against Manheim Central, who is number 1 in District 3 5A.
Yes.
And they go on the road and win.
Wow.
And clinch a spot in states
crazy.
with a below 500 record. Well, I think that was their record.
Yep. 11-16 overall.
They ended up winning that game. that surprised me a lot.
Well,
So,
that's the reason why you never give up. I mean,
know,
that's a classic case of Spring Grove never giving up and upsetting a number one seed in the district playoffs. I mean, congratulations to Spring Grove. I mean, that has to be the high point of their year so far. Yeah, and it has to be
because they started off, I want to say 6-2, had some trouble a little bit down the stretch, but then they're going to be a team. Maybe they could be a team that really gets a bigger spot in districts. Maybe wins a game or so.
And Spring Grove, as we said again, another big 6A school. They have a lot to pull from.
They play 5A.
5A. I'm sorry. So they're a big school though, so they have a lot to pull from, and they can get some players that pop out. From the track team, football team. You just never know.
Yeah.
Northeastern comes in at 2-10. During the league, 4-17 overall, 2-8, 2-9 away. Only scoring 47 points per game, but giving up 60 points per game. Northeastern, coached by Coach Eister. He's a great coach. Been there, I believe, almost 20 plus years. He's always has his guys ready to play, but they have had some struggling years here in the last 2 years since Karan Mallory pretty much graduated, which is about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
they had some struggling times during that time, but they had Isaiah Beatty this year. He did a great job for them. He led the team in threes.
Do you know? Is he a junior or senior?
He's a senior. He's graduating this year.
I wasn't sure.
He was always a guy as a player to watch for us. Puts up big time points. Every time when I saw him play, he's always in double digits. So, he's a bright spot for for Northeastern. I wonder how close he was to that 1,000-point mark, because he's been playing since his sophomore year.
Yep.
Finally, we have Southwestern at 1-11 this year. 6-16 overall, 2-8 at home, 4-6 away. Scoring 56 points per game, giving up 64 points per game. And this is a team, we said earlier, we predicted this team would probably be in the third.
We were projecting. We had them actually at our you had them predicted a number in the top 5 for our early player rankings.
Yep.
And we had a little more high hopes for them, but because they had that win at opening night against New Oxford.
Yep.
And they were shooting the ball at a high level, which is I'm not sure what happened.
Well, we know they had players 1 through 5. That was a team Southwestern saw them during the summer and spring, playing in different summer leagues with the Grimes. Yeah. They had players 1 through 5. They have Dominic Gilberto.
Oh yeah, so Gilberto actually was. So for that game time, he was voted. Well, they ended up voting him as the fan pick. He was the fan vote for the player of the year.
Yep.
And then Ben Natal, was the staff selection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Southwestern, like I said, Dominic Gilberto, Devin Sachs. They had I think the kid Holly this year. Elijah Holly was a 6'8" guy or 6'7" or something like that. So they had the pieces. They had a good coach. They just kind of did put everything together. And you just wonder. They have some guys returning next year, so we wonder what they can put together.
Well, it'll be interesting because Holly and Gilberto are graduating, so that's going to be a tough one. And Sachs, I think Sachs might have been dealing with injuries a little. Maybe there was. I think I read something. There might have been some injuries he was dealing with a bit, so he was in and out of the lineup a few times.
Yeah, next year for Division I, like I said, it can be any one of those teams that's good. When we talk about the top 4 teams, when we talk about Central, Redline, York High, Dallastown, that's almost in my opinion, next year can almost be interchangeable.
Yeah.
How that goes as far as our power rankings or who's going to rise to the top.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's going to be very interesting. But it was a great year for us guys. Like I said, we filmed 29 basketball games this year, man, and we averaged about 20 games, which is a lot for a basketball season. And this year we did 29 games because basically a lot of teams went to Hershey Park. They went to the Giants Center.
We're playing in districts. Yeah, a lot of teams are playing the second season basketball.
Absolutely.
What they call it.
So they saw a lot of we had a chance to film a lot more games because of that, and it was a very good season as well. As we go into our spring season, I know a lot of people are like, hey, what games are we featuring during our spring season? And if people want to be sponsors, they can look at the lower third of our screen. If you want to be a sponsor, you can reach out to us for a lacrosse event, volleyball, baseball, any event, softball, of course. We're looking for sponsors to help us, offset our production costs and our equipment fees so we can film those games. But, coming up, we are tapped to film the softball, baseball, lacrosse, and also volleyball championships for the YIAA. Now, we're not 100% sure if they have a Huddle live stream that's going to film that. But
Those probably not.
Yeah, but we're planning to be there for all those events this year, and we're looking for sponsors to help us offset some production costs that comes along with that. But our goal is to highlight all the student athletes and all the sports that they play. We did that last year with some lacrosse games. We did some baseball games.
We had a lacrosse. We had a central one, and then we had a few. Then we had the 2 baseball ones.
Yeah, you're Catholic as well. Lacrosse.
That was not last year, but that was the year.
The year before, I believe.
That was the year when I was still in school. Yeah.
All right, got you. 2 years ago. So so we got a lot of stuff coming up, guys. Like I said, be patient with us. We're gonna go ahead and upload all the games we filmed this year to our new YouTube account. As you guys know, a month ago our YouTube account got hacked, but we did recover all the games that we filmed this year, all 29 games. So you could be able to still go back and watch those games. It's gonna be on our new YouTube account. So you can go ahead and check that out. And also, we'll be, still sending flyers out and posts and keeping everybody engaged. If you got anything going on sports-wise, go ahead and hit our inbox. Let us know what's going on. My buddy out in Dover, there's a Dover event coming up. It's sometime in May. I want to say May 3rd or something like that. You want to check out Dover Sports and their baseball team and their softball team. They're doing some fundraiser events as well. Up next, I think this weekend, I do know this weekend they're doing the All-Star for the boys All-Star basketball game.
Sunday over at the Grumbacher Sports Fitness Center.
That's his spot. So they'll be over there. Marcellus Gottwald will be there as well, doing some PA announcements. So it should be a really good time. Like I said, send those guys off on a high note. All the seniors that played this year, that's gonna pretty much go off to college. Big shout out to them. And like I said, we always want to tell you guys thank you. Please continue to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all over. Just continue to follow us. We'll continue to do bigger and better things. If you want some of the Sports Shooting Stars gear, we got all that gear now. We got hoodies, we got track suits, we got the whole 9. Just hit us up. Like I said, if you was ever player of the game, we have a $5 discount off. If you want to buy one, or we can negotiate anything that you may need. Let us know. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you guys soon. This is Dude Jones.
Carter Scappa.
Sports Shooting Stars. We bring the game
to you.
All right, let's see. Turn this one off.
I think he said click the button. Oh yeah, Florida's up big right now.
So Florida's up big right now?
Yeah, 29-9.
Good stuff. Okay.